Hey guys, what's up? This is Shimo here. Now this is going to be just a little bit of a raid guide for Comet Crusaders. Good news is that you won't really be needing to do that much damage since you're going to be mainly supporting the team in terms of constantly buffing and debuffing. For you will pretty much be the survivability of the team along with making it teammates have an easier way of surviving. Besides just Wonderwall, which is pretty much the go-to, but I'll go more into depth of that, but let's talk about his passives. For pretty much this one's the quite obvious one, you just want to try and keep yourself in 3 bead, although you're not going to have that good of an opportunity to get multi-hits and attacks and stuff like that in raid. You're going to have to utilize some of his other passives and maybe some other potions, such as Superhuman Potion, Apples, the Rice Drinks from the Spa, or the new guild potion Snow Pastas. As for this passive right here, when you're being attacked, there's a 10% chance of lowering your enemy's damage for 5 seconds, stacks up to 3 times, so you can lower their attack by 30%. So pretty much at certain points, you want to try and purposely get hits, so therefore you can get mana, awakening charge, and lower the attack, so therefore teammates can have more time intervals if they didn't dodge to live slightly longer or to use a potion, for there is that potion latency from time to time. Next one, passive that I'm talking about is the Transcendence 91, which is Guardian's Force. This makes shouting skills such as Pandemonium, Rapid Guardian, Bulk Pain, and Iron Howling actually able to lower the target's attack power and defenses, meaning that they'll do more damage. You'll do more damage to those kinds of targets, and they'll do less damage, so you want to just keep spamming your shouts. Along with this passive right here, which is pretty much the one where it gives you unlimited cannonball movements and slightly more speeds. The one that really makes this one good is that when in heavy stance, you gain bonus MP gain and awakening charge when attacked. Since you really can't get much awakening charge from attacking, or you want to just try and heavy stance up and just tank the attacks. You don't want to use guard as much. I would use guard more as a failsafe. The main reason why is because guard will not give you the benefits of this passive. You have to have that blue aura around you in order for it to actually count. So there is that. Okay, and that's pretty much most of the passives. Now I can go over most of the skills that you'll probably want to be using. Alcohol Dama you can throw in every so often if you want to try and do some damage. Be careful with the animation with it, for it is fixed and doesn't scale off attack speed, so it'll take you a while. Pandemonium will be one of your go-to shouts to just keep spamming because of the fact of the 30% damage debuff, which will last a pretty long time, along with the fact of your passive kicking along with it. So there's that. Brutal Swing is a pretty good move for getting out of certain situations, along with the increased distance if it hits a hitbox, which if you're already in the hitbox, it can get you out of some pretty interesting scenarios. Bulk Pain, I'll go over this one since there is a bit of an issue when it comes to raids with it. Land Demo for the bonus buff for commands doing more damage, ignoring defenses, and I like using the mod one, so therefore you can place it in a section, so therefore you can try and gain awakening charge off of that. Iron Howling's a pretty decent one just to keep up debuffs of the shout, like usual. Guard, I honestly use this one more for the iframes. You can also use it for the defense reduction, although some attacks will ignore defenses, so be careful when guarding. Wonderwall is one of your go-to support ones. I personally made my Wonderwall be both for defensive and offensive properties. It'll be up to you whether or not you want to do so or not. So if you don't know, what the mod Wonderwall does is that it casts a shield on everyone and then it will explode afterwards. Unlike the original Wonderwall, which just had that huge damage chunk at the front, this one has an explosion afterwards, meaning that more people getting Wonderwall, meaning more damage it can deal. So I purposely chose the heavy trait, and I'm going to be spamming this to try and keep up damage and keep defensive abilities up, because the other trait just makes it last 9 more seconds, and although that can be nice, if you're going to be spamming it, I would rather just get this one. So it's more of the fact of, do you want to spend a little bit more MP to do more damage? However, I would be very careful with the force, because during certain patterns you don't want to attack, and it can cause problems for the team, so keep an eye out for that and choose if you want to switch out or not. Personally, I'm going to be doing this, and I just will watch out for spamming it or not, for it can do a lot of damage. Doomstrike is actually the hyper that I would rather use during this raid compared to Tiamat, because it's a faster animation, meaning that you can just get it out just in case due to certain attacks actually ignoring iframes and skills, so be careful of that one. Rage of Guardian's a good side switch, or Leap. I forgot to actually talk about Leap. Good grouping skill, good for getting to the other side. I would use the mod one instead of the unmodded one because you might need to group more in certain scenarios, or mass Leap. Rapid Guardian is pretty much going to be the skill that you always want to be using as well. You want to have a keep rotation of shouts, technically, for it will increase your sorry about that. It will increase your amount of skills that you'll be using, keep up your shouts, keep up your MP gain for increasing your MP gain and the attack speed. Pretty much want to just keep this up, so I would have this on a trans slot specifically, so therefore you can keep spamming it up. But yeah, it's pretty much the go-to. Now, what I wanted to talk about is Calabolg Pain. I said I would go back to it, Pain of Calabolg. So pretty much if you don't know how this one works is that if there are debuffs on the target, it will have this effect called Curse of Agony, which will then detonate after set periods of times, intervals between one another, to do magical damage that will ignore defenses. So if I just Calabolg Pain here, as you can see that there is no explosion afterwards, but if I use Pandemonium and then this will detonate twice for my passive as well. If you see here, the name of the HP bar goes invisible, right here. This is actually going to affect raid a lot more for, let me find that clip right here. And here we go. If I play this out right here, I Pandemonium, I Calabolg Plane, boss goes invisible, reappears. Boss goes invisible, reappears. It gets harder to read the boss's attacks and stuff like that, so I'd highly advise using Calabolg Pain unless you have the mod. If you see here, what the mod does is that it makes it have multiple shouts afterwards. Each one will ignore defenses. But the good thing about this is that each hit of the shout will actually stack towards the debuff, which is really nice, so it's easier to keep it up. And this is probably going to be my go-to skills for it. Now, if some stuff I want to talk about now is effective titles in between. For some people might not know which titles to use, or try and increase combat level. If you're already way past the combat level, I would definitely look towards titles that can really help out. Guardian Secret Closed Space, extra boss damage, and the fever buff for the entire party is really convenient and nice. Although I wouldn't really recommend this that much on a Comet Crusader, for you're going to try and get a lot out of your 3-bead, and you won't be utilizing this as much for other classes unlike Ainz, Ads, Reckless Fist, other classes like that that just keep spamming Awakening. But it's still a good option. Then there is... Let me find it. Alright. Is there another website? No, Vamimyr. Key to Victory. Again, boss damage, potions have more effectiveness, and 3% adaptability. This is actually a really good title. Really easy to farm as well. Actually, I would say that this is a just good title to go for anyone. Another title that would be pretty good for anyone would be Farnace's Fruit. This is more a defensive title, and it's a resurrection title. And the main reason why I would suggest this one over Eclipse, although people call this budget Eclipse, it's technically better than Eclipse. For Eclipse, when you're getting hit, there's a chance of getting super armor, which can ruin some of your dodges because you'll be in super armor and you can't actually dodge, so there is that. Then you can probably go back to some other titles such as Sandstorm. The Ghost, if it summons, can debuff, stuff like that. There's a lot of interesting titles that you can look into and try and support out. I'm just listing out of some. But the title that I'm going to be using, which I personally find very effective, is the Ursop of Twisted Time of Space. Now, if you don't know how this one works, is that it's a rotation of 5 buffs, first 5 seconds being physical, second one being 5 seconds magical, into 5 seconds of attacking will give you a heal proc, right there, and then right here is the Fickle Destruction. commands or certain actives will actually create this HP burn, which does fixed amount of HP towards the boss. Although they technically did patch it to have a cap, it's still really good consistent DPS, and it's going to be really cheap. So I'm gonna, whenever I have it up, I'm just gonna try and aim shot or do a command to try and lower the boss's damage. Do some commands here and there. For flat HP burns are pretty good. Like, they're so good that they have to nerf a couple of other people's. But yeah, pretty much that's my quote-unquote guide or information for Comet Crusaders during raid. If you guys have any questions about the raid or Comet Crusader in general, let me know down below. I will try my best to inform as fast as possible. And I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!